Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, summer's been a busy time all over town, but for one location, the Joplin Public Library, there's been a lot happening for people of all ages. Today we're going to follow up on that and look to the future for the library. Joining me, the director, Jacque Gage. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for letting me come. I appreciate it.
I know we've read in the media, we've seen stories. You've had a lot of summer activities at the library this year.
We run a summer reading program every year, and the last few years we've had it for from birth to 112. Because we figured, why should kids get all the fun? So this summer we've been running basically 3 different programs. The one for children is themed Fizz Boom Pop, and it's all a science theme, because science and technology is really important now. And then we have a teen program that has the same science and technology theme, but a little bit different name. And then we have one for the adults. So the adults is called Literary Elements, and it encompasses programming and reading and prizes and all kinds of good stuff. So it's been active at the library.
So these are programs that you bring people into the library, they interact with each other, they interact with your staff. It's more than we're going to check out a book, come back and tell you we read it.
Oh my, yes. One day I walked out of my office to go to another part of the library, and I could not get across the lobby before all the people lined up for the program, and I thought, I can go do this later.
Right. But that must make you feel well.
Yes.
Great that people are coming out to do these things.
That's right.
And especially the children. There's a lot of hands-on, I would imagine, with the youngsters, the activities.
We have had programs. Art Feeds has come and done some programs. Lego has come and done some programs about like gears and levers, and taught the concepts and then allowed the children to experiment with them. We've had Dino Odell, who's a children's entertainer, who gave a lot of content in addition to being amusing. We had someone from the conservation department who tied all of his animals into the theme of Fizz Boom Pop. And so we've just had a lot of things. The teens every week do a different science thing associated with a different scientist. The one that is being done the week that we're taping this program has to do with catapults. They've used Tesla, and they do things that are appropriate to the discoveries that scientist made. So it's a lot of hands-on, it's a lot of fun stuff.
And that's how, especially the younger generation, likes to learn. I mean, you can pick up a book and read it, but to try out these things they're talking about.
That's the way I like to learn.
Everybody likes to get that hands-on. Let's see what they're talking about. And for the older adults, that you had then some interaction for perhaps the grandmas and grandpas and the parents, so forth.
Sure. Well, we have a reading program where you read some books and you can get entered for prizes and that sort of thing. But we have also had an adults chemistry magic program. We had a professor in from MSU talk about the science of Sherlock Holmes. We've had a lot of different programs. So you just basically, we've had book clubs, we have had crafts. It's something that people just needed to look at the calendar and find out what night they've got free or what day they've got free.
Plan a time to come down and work on those crafts and work on those activities. I imagine that means your staff has really been involved this summer, and probably well before that in planning these types of things.
They start planning for next year in August and September.
As soon as this year ends, what are we going to try next time?
As soon as this year ends, it starts. We already know the theme next year has to do, it's a heroes type theme that lends itself well to superheroes. And so I already have one of our departments talking about who they're having coming in. She's having comic book creators and graphic novel creators that she has met in Kansas City at a Comic-Con agree to come to Joplin.
That's great.
So it sounds like our teen librarian's planning a mini Comic-Con for next summer.
For the local teens who can't make it to Kansas City, they just come to the library.
And I said, can adults come to that? And she said, yes. So, be on the lookout. Next summer, we are going to have a mini Comic-Con at the library.
Mark your calendar now, and we'll keep an eye on your website as we work along as well. Well, I know we have some video, and people are familiar with the library, but we can kind of roll the video here in a moment. Talk about it. Take people inside the facility and talk about what the features and what you have. And one of our students here at Missouri Southern went out with a camera to shoot some of the video. So let's take a look at the library and see what we have. Obviously, this is the exterior, and let's reinforce the location for people.
The location of the library is at 300 South Main Street between 3rd and 4th on the west side of Main. And this is an exterior shot of the front of the library. Our parking is accessed from the west side of the library, so you have to go around to Joplin Avenue to get into the parking
on the
lot.
other side, but this is the recognizable as Main Street side of the building.
Right.
Perhaps,
This is
where
the
you
official face of Joplin Public Library.
And you, as you say, you walk inside. Then you have so many different departments. Let's kind of give a brief tour of what we're seeing once we get inside.
Okay. Right now we are looking in across our reference department. If you want to know anything about anything, we've got the staff who can help you do this. But the Spark a Reaction is the teen theme for the science and technology, and they have decorated up the department in various ways. Those are some contests they have going on. They always have an estimation jar where you have to figure something out, and teens can put their guesses in and win prizes. They've decorated up their department. You can see the pole with all their directions to the other departments in the library. How do you get to children? And this is all like teen oriented and
in that
teen
department
produced.
specifically for the teen area.
Here is looking into the children's department. I mentioned their theme this summer has been Fizz, Boom, and Read. And you'll see a little bit later in the clip, there are all kinds of decorations made showing gears and levers.
So that theme carries throughout the department.
It carries out throughout the whole department, and they have put in an enormous amount of work, making it a fun place to kind of explore and see. You can kind of see, I believe that's an Albert Einsteinish type character there.
And there's your drawings.
And those were done by all the public library employees.
So everybody had a chance to put their artwork up for display.
We always have a meeting that is in preparation for summer reading, and the children's department staff said, and by the way, here's your supplies, create something.
So you come up with the beakers, you come up with the blends.
We got to do that. And then this is a shot going into a separate library within our library. It's the Post-Memorial Art Reference Library. And so if you want to do any art reference work, this is the place to come because they have a very good collection, always showing different artists. This is one of the coolest things in the library now. We just began this in December. We now have the ability for patrons to check out their own items without having to come to a staff member to do so.
Because you have barcodes and items to electronically scan them.
What they do is they scan their library card, and you can place stacks of items on this pad, and it checks them all out at the same time.
So it's not like one at a time.
It is not one at a time. We suggest about 2 stacks of 3, and it's very easy to do. We have staff to help you if there's
people learn the system.
While you hit the learning curve. And then here's a shot of, we've got 2 display cases, a large one and a small one, that feature community members' collections.
Okay. And now you have those booked throughout the year where people change out monthly to try
They change out monthly. She starts booking, she's already booking now into 2015, I believe.
Well, so if you have a collection you'd like to share with the community,
we would love
to give you a call
to see it.
And of course, here's the back side or the west side of the building that you mentioned.
And this is the main parking area.
Area on the back. So the area that you have been in the library downtown for a number of years, very recognizable. I know people have been going there for years and serving it, but people have been hearing about possibility of a new library. And we've got to go through the show. You have to ask the question. I'm sure everybody asks you.
Sure.
What's happening with the new library situation?
Well, the stage we're at now is we are in the process of selecting a project manager. And so the city is currently reviewing the applicants for that as on the date of this taping.
Right.
And the next step will be for that person to be announced, and then they will start working on what's called an RFQ, which is request for qualifications for architecture work. And then is when we actually start designing the library, figuring out, what it's going to look like, how it is going to be set up.
So the actual structure itself.
That's correct.
You're getting a lot of input as far as ideas from people?
Yes, we are. We have opened it up a couple months ago. For a month, we had a giant poster pad up with a pencil attached, just with saying, what would you like to see in your new library? Brainstorming. Nothing was off the charts. We just want to hear what people want to see.
You have an idea? Write it down, right?
That's right. And like I've mentioned, one of the ideas was we need a swimming pool. One was we need a 2-story slide into the library. And, like I said, nothing was off the table. I don't believe those 2 will be integrated. But there were, some of the things that are repeated often bear really looking at.
So it helps to have the patron's point of view as well as the staff point of view, because people who are using the facility are giving you input.
And as we go farther into the design process, there is going to be more opportunity for public input. It's not like I didn't sign the paper, so I don't get any input. No, we will be having more opportunities for public to say, we really wish the public library would offer
this type of thing. And of course, this is an opportunity a lot of libraries don't have, is to start over in a new facility.
That's true.
So
That's
you're
true.
getting a chance to try new approaches, try probably, we hear about modern technology, there's probably modern library ways of doing things versus what you have today.
And you know, a lot of people have tried to prognosticate into the future what libraries are going to be in 10 or 15 years. And you hear something on this side and it says this, and you hear something over here that says something completely different. So I've concluded by listening to them, they don't really have a clue.
It's just going to develop as it develops, right?
And so what we're wanting to see is when we develop this space to make it flexible, so that no matter what happens, we're going to be able to adapt to meet the future needs that we don't even know are needs right now.
And of course, if it comes to electronics, you've seen that with the computer, the generation.
That's been huge, and that's one of our issues now, was our building was not built with the even dream of all the technology and the computers that are used now. And so things as simple as having enough plug-ins is not so simple.
And computer plugs and
That's
Wi-Fi
right.
and all these other things that we
That's
have
right.
today. And I know in the past we've talked on a program, you talked about one of the key concerns is also accessibility for people and being
That's
able to
true.
get through them.
That's true. Right now, our aisles will not even allow some wheelchairs to more than get in about 6 inches.
Because of the narrowness, how close
Because
the
of the
stacks are together.
narrowness. And there flat isn't enough space for us to spread the aisles farther apart because there is no extra space. So that's one of the big things with this, is we want accessibility. We want this to be available for everyone. And it's not like now if someone can't reach an item that we won't go get it.
Right.
Of course we'll go get it.
Find a staff member, we'll help you out.
That's right. But I've had people say to me, but I like to look for I like to browse. And so, by golly, we're going to make that happen.
Make that happen. And you see the library also becoming a community gathering point. You know, you have the books, the traditional things, but as far as meeting rooms, places to have groups gathering in.
You know, right now we have one small meeting room that you can hold 6 to 8 people, and we have one larger meeting room. They are used all the time, both with library programming and with public nonprofits and that
Community
sort of
organizations.
things. Community organizations. We need more. We need some individual private study areas. Some people do not focus well with activity and things going on around them. We need some places where they could go in, shut the door, and do their work.
Right.
And so those are a couple things that we would like to implement in a new building. Again, flexibility. You know, our large meeting room is our large meeting room, which is our large meeting room. If it's built with flexibility, you know, there are many large meeting rooms that can be subdivided into smaller ones. So more than one entity could be using an area.
Right. If Group A doesn't need that big a space, you can
That's
split it
right.
up, and Group B can join them on the other side of the wall.
That's right. So my hope is that we'll have more meeting rooms, we'll have flexible meeting rooms, and then we'll have some very small group or individual study rooms.
Right. When you think about, you know, university libraries where some of the students say, I'm going to go up in the stacks and read where it's quiet, nobody walks up in that
That's
area.
right.
You know, same
That's
sort of
right.
thing. People want to get away from the hubbub.
And people like to spread out when they work. So if I'm sitting at this table, I really don't want someone right here beside me.
Want to put your books out, you want to be able to have some elbow room.
I
Right?
want my personal space.
Right.
So we're hoping to be able to do that.
Great. So a lot of possibilities, and we're at that stage where the ideas are being generated, and
We're dreaming.
You know, a lot of things
I have a
coming.
box. When I find a new idea, it goes in the box so I know where to find it.
You read about what others are doing successfully,
That's
and
true.
imagine in the library world, you have a lot of networking with other libraries.
And we've taken, my department heads and I have taken some library field trips. We went down to Fayetteville, Arkansas, which was named Library Journal's Library of the Year a couple of years ago. And they gave us not the 10-cent tour, they gave us the big tour where we saw everything from the top of the building down into
down in the archives in the basement.
down into the place where nobody else goes. And so we have done that in the Arkansas area. We have done that in the Kansas City area. So we want to glean from other people's knowledge.
Right, so you're not starting from scratch, you're kind of taking the best of the best and piecing it together here in Joplin. And so looking at that as a future project, obviously the 20th and Connecticut area is still where we're looking at for the
That's
facility.
still where we're looking at. That's where the CART, the Citizens Area Recovery Team, after the tornado, those are two of the corridors they specified as we want to see these corridors developed. So what better place than the juncture of two of the areas they want to develop.
And of course, we showed the parking earlier. That's going to help you give more parking and accessibility for people.
Our parking is an issue. I personally think when I leave for lunch, is this really a good time to leave for lunch? Will I be able to park when I come back? Because yesterday I couldn't.
All the spaces were gone.
All the spaces were gone.
So planning not only for inside the building, but since we are
For
a
the
community that's
outside of the
driven by
building.
transportation and cars, you need to have people to be able to get there and tying that together. Well, using the facilities now, obviously technology's played a role. You mentioned computers. Do you have a lot of people who still come in and maybe people don't realize there are some people who don't have internet access at home. They'll come to the library and use those resources.
We've got a computer lab, a 24-station desktop computer lab, and then we have a good Wi-Fi network. A lot of people come in to use their personal devices. This is something that we never put a word of publicity out on. And it's just basically expected of public places today.
To have public Wi-Fi.
That you have public Wi-Fi, and so that is used a lot. And I think it's surprising how many people really don't have access at home.
Right.
We have students during the school year who have to come to the library because all their textbooks are in the cloud. They may have a device, but they don't live in a place where they have access.
School's closed, they have to go
School's
somewhere else.
closed. Okay, so you can go to a local eating establishment and use their Wi-Fi. They'd probably appreciate it if you purchased some food or drink, and sometimes that they don't have those kind of resources.
And probably with group projects where students are assigned to work together, you have a facility.
We have the public access. It's free. The desktop lab, you need to have a library card to use, or if you do not have a card, it costs a whole $1 for 30 minutes or $2 for 60 minutes.
But is the Wi-Fi open for
the
anybody?
The Wi-Fi is open for anybody to use.
And I know we've talked in the past about the increasing interest in electronic books and electronic journals and so forth. In addition to what you saw on the shelves in the library, a lot of people can check things out without even walking into the facility.
You can. We have two programs by which you can do that. One can be found, you can search our catalog and find downloadable ebooks or downloadable audiobooks. And you'll see in our catalog there is it says this is a web resource, and there is a hyperlink that you can click and go to it. Or an easier way, if you're wanting specifically something in an ebook or an audiobook that's downloaded, is to go to MoLib, L-I-B, numeral 2, go.org, MoLib to go. And that is our catalog of all of our electronic resources.
So is that a joint venture with other libraries around the state?
That is a joint venture of about 60 libraries in the state. And probably the last time we spoke, we had a very small collection. Well, we've continued to add to it and add to it and add to it. So much so that we were able just this week to expand the loan period of those items. Before this week, the maximum period of time you could use them was 14 days. And now there's an option to go up to 21 days if you so desire. So that's great.
And those are checked out using your library card identification?
Those are used with your library card. It's got to be in good standing. If you have fines or overdues, a message comes up that says, you need to contact your library.
Before we can give this to you.
And then the other electronic resource that is so new that as of the day of the taping, it's not even, the link isn't even up on our website. We are offering downloadable magazines.
Right, and you brought
I brought my iPad, and I don't know.
I'm going to hold that up and maybe this camera on the side can see that.
Okay. This is just 6 different titles that I have downloaded today. We have 51 or 52 titles, everything from People Magazine to Good Housekeeping to horse magazines, kids magazines, men's health, prevention magazine, and you can view it on any computer, tablet with Wi-Fi, or there is an iPad app, and I've got this on my iPad, and I downloaded just 6 different magazines. But once they're downloaded, all you do,
The electronic version's right there. And
it's
leaf
right
through it like
there,
reading the magazine.
and you can flip through it. When you get to the table of contents, it's actually hyperlinked. So I want to view. I can't see where I am now, but if I was on the table of contents, I would just
straight to that page you want to read.
and it would just jump over to that. And this is brand spanking new.
And this is free of charge. Just
If
use
you
your
have your library card.
Right.
That's right.
So, people say, well, I don't have a subscription to that magazine, but they can get that
Sure,
information through their
sure.
library card.
And like I say, we've got time, we've got people, we've got this old house. It's just amazing. When I was looking through the list, I kept seeing titles that were, I would like to read that.
That
I would
sounds like an
to read
interesting
that.
magazine,
It
right.
sounds good. And so, if I've got it right here on my device, or if I'm with my laptop somewhere where there's Wi-Fi, I can do that.
Right. And they can access that from off-site as well. If they're
Yes,
at
yes.
home and they want to read the latest, magazine, they can get through the...
The other beauty of it is the monthly magazines check out for a week, and then the link just dies.
So you don't have to do anything to turn it back in.
And you don't get fines. So it will show up with a little garbage can. It says expired, and you can just click the garbage can, and then even the picture of the magazine will disappear.
So the whole record of it is
It's
gone.
it's very user friendly. I was a little surprised because we used another product similar to this to test. I even had trouble doing it, and I'm fairly tech savvy. This one I found very easy to do. I downloaded the app. I went
Push
to
a
the
button, it
website.
downloads. and done.
Put in my library card, said I want to look at all titles. Okay, I want to look at this one.
There it is. Now, the app itself, is that something that you will have posted on your website so people
Yes.
will be able to link to that to get to
Yes.
their iPad to be able to use that?
Yes.
And so forth. And if someone has the Nook or the Kindle or laptop, they can then...
As long as they're
they have
connected
the
to Wi-Fi.
They can get access
Now
to.
this I can take off-site. I can take, out to the park where there is no Wi-Fi. I can still look at these because it's through the app, and these are actually downloaded. The others are actually live feeds. The other thing that's great about these is a lot of users can be looking at the same issue at the same time.
There's no waiting in line to look at that. Right?
Well, some titles have 50 users at the same time or 100 users at the same time. And right now, I don't see us ever running into that.
Right.
Our ebooks and our e-audiobooks are downloadable books. They are a one copy to one user at a time type thing. But the magazines are pretty much, unless we're just overwhelmed with users at the exact moment, are pretty much
They're there for access.
multi-user.
And if you're looking at one of those ebooks and somebody else has it checked out, you can get on a waiting
You
list.
can put it on hold. In the catalog, it says place a hold. You hit that, you'll fill in your email address. When it becomes available, you'll get an email saying this title is available for checkout. It will be in your hold basket for, I believe, 96 hours. You have 96 hours to go back to the site, say, these are my holds, I want to borrow this, download it, and you're good to go.
And then when you finish reading those, do you need to click to return? Are they...
The link dies.
Okay.
And my device always pops up and says, you have some expired titles, would you like to delete them? And then I'll hit delete. Or if I finish something early, I can go ahead and return it early too.
Okay, so it makes it more accessible for other people
Sure.
to be able to use it. And so forth. Well, I know in today's world, we hear a lot about literacy and all ages and so forth, but locally we've heard a lot about family literacy. And you've talked about the children's program, but I understand you're also going to be doing more to incorporate that early childhood literacy.
Yes, Joplin is having a big early literacy push. And the reason for that is between the ages of birth and 3. That is where there is an immense amount of learning going on. That's when I'm not a physician or scientist, but that's when all the electrical connections are made
Brain
in the
really
brain.
starts clicking. Right.
The neurons are getting connected, and the more connections you can make, the better for the child. So Joplin is having this push, and Joplin Public Library has decided that we are going to participate in that. And we are in the process of becoming certified as a family place library. This is a national emphasis, a national certification that Joplin Library will be the second one in the state of Missouri to achieve. And it basically has a three-pronged approach. It deals with the environment of the children's department. It provides more than, here are a bunch of shelves of books. we will be incorporating play, because play is how children learn.
Like a lot of your summer programs, you're interacting with the children.
But play is probably the biggest way that children learn, and so we're going to be revamping our physical environment there. We've got some toys now. We've got a train table, we've got some stringy blocks, but we're incorporating more.
Okay.
Then it also has to do with developmentally appropriate programming. Programming where, like our story times, we've always had story times, but a story time for an 18-month-old, it's not developmentally appropriate for, okay, you sit in mommy's lap, we're going to sing a song, we're going to do a finger play.
What's going to work for that age group?
Right. It's going to involve more movement and more activity, but also include the literacy portion of it.
Right.
And we've already revamped some of our programming, and the attendance has skyrocketed because it's meeting more needs.
They see the need for it.
One thing that we have not done yet, but we will be doing, is we're going to be having a parent resource library. We already have parent resources, but they're not in the children's
Kind of
department.
organize them in the area where the people are bringing their
That's
children.
right. So right now, someone who has 3 little kids in tow and they want to find something on toilet training has to go clear over into the adult section. They can't leave their child in the children's section because nowadays that's just not wise. And so it's kind of a hassle to go clear over to another part of the library to get that information. So we're going to have the parent resources where the kids
and the parents are
where
together.
the kids and parents are together. And then starting this fall, we're going to be having what's called a parent-child workshop. And we will be having community experts in the areas. There are 5 areas. One has to do with child development, one has to do with literacy, one has to do with language, there's movement and health, and I always forget the 5th one. But it's not going to be the type of thing where this expert in this area is coming up and talking.
It's not a lecture.
It's not a lecture. The kids will be interactive and playing with things. The expert will be coming around and talking to people individually. So, I'm having trouble with my 2-year-old who won't eat green beans or something, to the nutritionist. And she can meet your specific needs. Instead of having someone lecture on something you really could care less about.
Great.
So it is going to be great.
Sounds like a great program. Sounds like a lot of continued development at the library and opportunities for the future.
There's always something happening, and there's always something on the back burner, it seems.
We mentioned your website. If somebody has questions, their phone number is?
The phone number of the library is 417-623-7953.
Okay.
The web address is very difficult, www.joplinpubliclibrary.org.
Okay, great. Well, Jacque, I'd like to thank you very much for visiting today and sharing information with our audience.
I appreciate the chance to get to talk.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. I'll see you again next week at the same time on this station.